Barbu is a freelance journalist and he's in Western Ukraine for us this morning. A very good morning to you. I know that you are somewhere safe and you're able to talk to us and you feel comfortable, but of course do let us know if you do need to go at any point during the interview, because I can see you're outside, which is slightly worrying to me. But look, just give us an update on where you feel things are going. I mean, the reports seem to be that the Ukrainian troops are doing well, that the Russians are struggling. But in some of the papers here, pointing to the Times newspaper, it says Ukrainian troops are running out of weapons.
Good morning. Indeed, I am in a safe location. However, the alarms do go on every 10, 15 minutes or so. So if an alarm will go off, I will have to find shelter and break away from this life. But for the moment, in the town I've been in the region I've been, which is close to the Romanian border, and Kiev that I visited in the last 48 hours several times, couple times actually, the civil defense units that I've seen are struggling to get weapons in terms of even basic weapons such as Kalashnikovs or small guns. So there is an issue with getting those weapons to the civil defense. Now, for the army itself, I can't really speak because I haven't really seen a lot of the army. They're mostly focused on the front line, which is obviously out of reach for security reasons for many journalists at the moment. But when you get close into Kiev and you talk to these civil defense units, which are basically civilians with arms, just to give you an example how much they're struggling at the moment to get weaponry and tactical gear in. Every time they stop us as journalists and they see our bulletproof vest, they're begging us to give it to them. And even some of them are offering money, which is a sign that they're not getting the equipment needed. And I've had friends, my translator is struggling to get bulletproof vests to his fellow friends, to his mates that are from the same school, same university they went to. They're fighting now on the front line. And he's saying none of them had bulletproof vests. None of them have the right equipment, from boots to trousers to anything. So to me, that is a sign that, yes, we've seen an improvement in the Ukrainian army in the last years in terms of NATO joint exercises. And we have these photo ops of them on the front line doing their best they can. But there is also this issue that you rightfully pointed of equipment and munition that is struggling to get particularly to the civil defense units.
Well, when you say struggling, one wonders, will it ever get there at all? Doesn't sound good the way you're describing things, Mircea. What can be done about this? Who can help? How can they help? Will it be solved?
Well, so President Zelensky did mention that he needs more support. He pointed out 2-3 weeks ago, if you remember, in a now famous quote saying, "Send munition, I don't need a plane," or something to that manner. Obviously, that happened, but it didn't happen to the point the Ukrainian army and the Ukrainian civil defense units needed it because they're still struggling. I would say that Poland and Romania are the countries that Ukraine is looking at the moment in terms of this sort of military aid, if not coming from them directly, at least to allow transit of NATO military equipment to come into Ukraine. We've seen a lot of humanitarian help in both countries, including Hungary. So all the neighboring countries, obviously south and west of Ukraine, are helping out. But in terms of that, equipment is still struggling to get in or to be visible on the front line in the cities that are being defended at the moment.
Mircea, nobody knows what the future holds for Ukraine. Of course, the short-term worries are significant, but there are also concerns about the long-term. The use of landmines, we're being told, could be a huge problem in the country for decades to come.
Absolutely. It is one of the most dangerous things at the moment. Yesterday, when I was driving into Kiev, I passed through a field that was clearly marked as landmines. And I spoke with farmers on the outside of Kiev saying we can no longer go and work our fields. We don't feel safe enough, because even if some of them are clearly marked, we don't know for sure. And yesterday night, I was passing back from the Moldovan to the Ukrainian border. I just went into Moldova briefly for a couple hours just to check on the situation at the border. Coming back, I was speaking with the Moldovan border guards, who were telling me that the Ukrainians have mined the areas around the borders without letting them know. Obviously, this is an unconfirmed information. I have to double check that. But I have no reason to doubt that they were worried, because they were clearly showing signs of deep worry about what's going on at their border, what's happening with the Ukrainian side in terms of mining places where a lot of civilians have crossed in the last 3 weeks. Do remember that a lot of the refugees obviously cross through official border points, but some of them, men that don't want to fight and they're not allowed to leave the country, but they are entitled to ask for asylum, do cross the border illegally. So what's going to happen? There's a high risk of these mines placed in different places to end up hurting Ukrainian civilians, such as farmers in the field or people fleeing the war through unofficial border points, checkpoints.